All right, welcome back to another edition of Deep Within the Man Cave. Hope everybody had a good week. Hope everyone's doing good. Hope you had a good Monday. Let's start this week off right. So, today I'm going to talk a bit about, I guess it would be considered communication and um, assuming. So, little incident happened this weekend between my sons. Um, they had a fight. I mean, like as normal siblings would do. They had a fight, but once I got to the bottom of it, um, they were both very upset that the other one didn't like them or they didn't want to do anything with them. They assumed that the other one hated them, which was completely untrue, of course. Excuse me. Um, and it ended up being that they felt that the other one didn't listen or didn't feel like they didn't want to do anything with the other one. So, excuse me. Um, what I had to figure out myself between what they had both told me was just a simple thing of communication. Um, Not saying something and then thinking that the other person felt this way. Now, these are kids. They're young. Of course, they're going to act like that. They don't think the way we think, they don't understand the way we think. So, um, so yeah, I just sort of left it at that. We had a talk. They worked things out, and they're best buddies again. Um, but it was something that they had been holding in, because they didn't think they should mention it because they didn't want to be made fun of, or that the other one thought the other one was a little baby or anything like that. So, I mean, it worked out good in the end, but it got me thinking. It got me thinking that, I mean, communication it's hard. It's hard when you think the other person doesn't care or is something, and that's where the assuming um, happens, where you assume something about somebody or how somebody feels about you or something like that when by what they do or don't do or don't say or anything, and you tend to think that just because they don't say this, so then they definitely don't love me or think I'm a decent person or something like that, right? I can think of a few times that's happened to me. I'm sure it's happened to a lot of people here. But when you're communicating with somebody, and communication can be hard and can be scary, and that's why it's so important to work on it all the time, especially with a partner or somebody. And it's important to practice. I mean, with everybody, talking to strangers, whatever, communicating anyhow, we could all do better with it. So, and the more we do it, the less we have to assume. Because when you assume, chances are you're most likely going to be wrong. Now, we tend to not want to talk about things that might be scary or we feel that the other person will dislike or something like that. And usually, if there has been problems or anything like that in the past, that through communication and being open and honest, that some of the things that you assume that the person is going to do or say or feels is completely false. Um, Sometimes you have to lead if you sense a problem is around or something like that. You have to lead, and you have to open yourself up to being vulnerable to what they say. And I mean, sometimes you you run into issues when people say certain things and stuff like that, that you tend to get hurt. You tend to react really fast without thinking things through. Now, you don't know what happened to that other person that day, that morning, to make them feel the way they're feeling at that moment. So maybe they're reacting to something, or something, but maybe you know maybe they're sick, maybe their car died on the way to work and they had to leave it on the side of the road, and now they're in a panic and they're worried about all this and all that. You just don't know unless somebody comes out and says, look, I'm having a pretty shitty day. I woke up late and then my car broke halfway here, so if I'm a little cranky, I apologize. Unless something like that is said, you assume that everything is good, which might not be the case. Now, a lot of people struggle with their private life and stuff like that, and that's why it's important to communicate that, hey, I noticed you're struggling or something like that. Is there something you want to talk about? Now, I've definitely been guilty of making assumptions from lack of communication and stuff like that, and it's very, very common. I know I'm not the only one. But if you you have to be willing to put the assumptions aside and stop assuming that because somebody said something that's how they feel about you or something like that. You have to take the time to understand that, hey, that seems that seems a little out of place for this person. Why they just all of a sudden came unglued, or just so maybe there's something deeper there. Maybe I'll ask them about it later on after things cool down or something like that. Now, that's but you also have to be okay with, if this person is really upset and they are telling the truth, said something to you that hurt your feelings, that's on you though. How you react and how you feel to what somebody else is saying that's you. That's not them. That's not what they're saying. They're saying these things because that's how they feel at the time, at the moment. I mean, maybe they are having a shitty day and they come unglued and something like that. You can't take it personally. You can take it like with criticism, but we as humans know, even if we don't want to admit it, like if we've made a mistake and someone's calling us out on it, our initial instinct is to, hey, wait a minute, no, like, is to cover up or whatever. But we know when we've made a mistake, and if someone's calling out on it, take it for what it is. As long as it's not really nasty name calling and stuff like that, maybe they're trying to help you and they don't know how to communicate it. Take it as criticism, but take it as a grain of salt as well. Maybe it's a way you can do better. So, so when you're communicating to somebody, and I know I've touched on this before, but it's been brought up to my attention again lately, and I know it's been a long time since I did talk to you about it, but it is your responsibility. If you have something to say or need to get it across, it's your responsibility to make sure that the person or persons that you are talking to understand what you're saying. You cannot just say something and then expect them to understand it the way you need it to come across, and then get upset with them when it doesn't. So you have to ask, hey, did you understand what I'm saying? Or you might have to change it into something like, say it a different way so that they would understand it. That's your responsibility. You are not allowed to be upset when something that you need to communicate does not get communicated properly and you assume that everybody understands it. It's your responsibility, if it's important, your responsibility to make sure that they understand what you are trying to get across. Whether you have to change your wording or how you say something, that's your responsibility. You cannot assume that people understand it just the way you maybe have spoken or something like that. And that's a big one. That's a big one. People have told me things, important things, and I have taken these things as, yes, they're important, but maybe this person's having an off day and they just need an extra hug or something like that, right? Not that there is something wrong and you need to discuss stuff. It's not what I take. So the person communicating that to me, the responsibility was to explain it so that I actually understood it on their terms. Now, when you're communicating, you're responsible for making sure that the other people understand exactly what you are communicating. But you are also not responsible for how somebody feels after your communication with them. Now, you're not allowed to belittle somebody or anything like that. That's just being ignorant, and if you do that, you're an asshole. But people take different communication in different ways. So if there's a problem and you discuss it and you've explained it properly so that they understand, and this is the part where is if they understand, yes, they might feel a little hurt or a little bothered by something, but if it's been explained properly, it's your feelings on this situation, and your feelings are true because they're your feelings. They're not the other person's feelings necessarily, but they're your feelings, so they're your truth. So by them saying, you saying, yeah, you did a real, you could have done better today, or something like that. The person that you've said that to might say, oh, well, that's a real, it's kind of hurtful. Um, and, well, now I don't like this person because they hurt my feelings. Well, you know what? You're going to get your feelings hurt. It happens. It's a part of life. You can't, it's your choice whether it hurts your feelings or you take what criticism is there to better yourself and just say, hey, you know what? Maybe I could have done better. Maybe if I would have put a little bit more effort into it, we wouldn't be in this situation having this conversation. So, in a quick review, you're responsible for making sure the people or person understands exactly what you are trying to communicate. And you can get upset, but it's not fair to get upset when they don't do exactly what you need them to do when you haven't communicated it to them. So sometimes, yes, you do have to, hey, do you understand exactly what I'm trying to talk here, or trying to say here, or trying to ask you here? Sometimes you do have to ask those questions. And it might be uncomfortable, but that's your responsibility. You are not responsible for how someone reacts or how someone feels after a conversation, because people take people can take things as if you're attacking them. As long as you don't belittle somebody or, tear them a new asshole just to tear them a new asshole, because that's just being ignorant. Like if someone told me that I was, a loser, I'm like, whatever. I know people have said that. I don't care. Let them think what they think. But if they had said, hey, you're a loser because you haven't done this and this and this, and you said you were going to do this, so how can we work together to get this done? Because I don't actually think you're a loser, but those are the things. Communication is hard. We all need it. Don't use it to belittle somebody and hurt somebody's feelings or anything like that, because their feelings are their truth. But you're not responsible for how they feel after a discussion. You're responsible to make sure that they understand what you're trying to say. Because if this happens, chances are they're not going to feel bad. They might feel like, oh, that happened? I'm sorry that made you feel that way. I didn't fully understand what you needed. So, be open, be honest, be vulnerable, communicate, share your feelings, make sure you are understood in what you're trying to communicate, and just be nice. People take things in different ways, so you have to be accepting of that, and understand that people take certain things to mean certain things if you don't explain it so that they understand it. So the easiest question is hey, do you understand what I'm trying to say? This is how I feel. Do you understand it? What do you think? Can you repeat in your own words what I said? And then if they can do that, and it comes across to what they're saying, chances are there's something in there that they're confused upon or don't find it as important to somebody, because everyone is different. And then that way you are being responsible in making sure that they understand. So I know it's happens a lot. Communication just sort of gets pushed aside as not being that important, but it is. I will leave you at that. As always, if you found this helpful, please subscribe, like a comment, share it with somebody. If you have suggestions for me at all, please leave a comment. And any concerns or something like that. And if you do not feel comfortable leaving a comment, you can always email me at deepwithinthemancave@gmail.com, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Until next week, be safe, be kind, and take care of each other. Have a good one.